Welcome to Biological Channel. This is your host, Kent Kruger. Please forgive me. I am well aware of the fact that in all my previous videos, I've been talking like a scatterbrained idiot. As I explained in the very first video on my channel, that I've spent years talking to the most psychotic, most demented minds of this country. And that was just my preface to, I want to apologize. I will try to speak a little faster, get to the point a little quicker, try to be more focused, and try to improve my speech. I even noticed myself clipping off consonants because I'm dealing with people that ask a question and interrupt you 2 words because that's their style. It's the Yankee style. It's also the style of psychotics, etc., etc. Actually, I just repeated because I've been making fun of a guy who actually pronounces it etc. This is about the banality of evil. All credits due to, and I do agree with Hannah Arendt. By the way, we have some local neighbors here that don't realize that they're, anyway. Of the thousands, actually, who have more than 100 and some odd thousand psyches and souls that I've studied in these, what I call, in my phone, I have them listed, the numbers listed under the psych ward. And I want to make a point here and tell a story of an individual case. At the bottom, you'll see the name Country Girl. That's what she goes by, Country Girl. And forgive me, I don't want to be in front of the camera today. I've been explaining that I've been having a lot of difficulty with glaucoma and the constant washing and wiping of my eyes. It makes me look like my eyes are black or whatever. They're just bruised. The tissue is bruised from the endless washing and wiping of my eyes due to the outflow of the exudate. So, for those of you who are, which almost all YouTubers are completely illiterate, you don't read, you hear and see things. You're video people. Most of you are the video generation. And even in my generation, there were plenty of people that I knew and grew up with that never read a book from beginning to end. But let me get to the point here. I've made the point as I tend to jump around because I'm unscripted. I've been talking like a babbling idiot. I've made many errors in speech. I'm well aware of them. I'm not insane. But let me talk about a specific case that will be followed up with further. The next in this series about the banality of evil is showing that even the word banality comes from the banal, which originally meant like common lands and stuff like that. And that's what it is that Country Girl, the source of her evil that I'm about to describe as briefly as possible comes because she grew up in a community and in a family that was anti-Semitic. They were Jew haters. Now, the quick story of Country Girl is, and I just spoke to her yesterday, she reappeared. She's now 76 years old. She's always been very slender. She's probably in pretty good health because she's never been a hard worker. And that's part of the problem is, and for people that don't know me, haven't noticed, I'm actually a very good listener. People think that I'm just a talker, a chatter. I am. I'm very gregarious, a conversationalist. But I listen. Especially when psychoanalyzing people, I listen very closely. And when you have that verbatim recollection, you catch everybody and every little error and flaw that they make. But I've actually spent years listening to what seems to be this harmless, soft-spoken woman. And through that, my memory, I remember that probably her greatest achievement in life was being a nurse's aide or just working in like nursing homes and stuff like that, which she really shouldn't have been doing because she's a very frail woman of only around 80, especially at age 76, she's probably down to 80 pounds. She probably never was more than 85 to 90 pounds. And to work in a nursing home, you need to weigh, I don't care if you're male or female, you need to weigh at least 130 pounds lean or more just to have the muscle to do what it takes. And that's part of the problem, is that I thought she was a fairly benign person, and Solon was a fairly equal, fairly egalitarian and benevolent person until somebody began talking about the evil Jews. And I can see this is going to run 9 or 10 minutes again, probably, before I finish this. And then she began speaking about a Jewish employer at a nursing home, and she just became really, just showed her evil. And that's when I recalled all she talked about before, is that she'd had many different jobs. She lives in an area that has been for her whole life, has been going into the economic crapper. It's let's just call it kind of the western. It's right on the. It's a major city that has no industry except for a particular defense contractor. There's no business there. It's been just going in the crapper for her entire life. And I can tell from listening to her that her previous, what appeared to be mostly Gentile employers at these nursing homes and other situations, that she was constantly being kind of a fragile woman that was probably attractive in her day. And a lot of men like myself love slender women and would cut them a lot of slack. Or her previous employers, which she probably destroyed some of them by constantly going like, "Oh, my back hurts. Can I have?" Sure, take the rest of the day off, and they meant with pay. She's literally, and bear in mind, she's made it to 76 years old, and she's in really good health and stuff, which means she hasn't worked a very hard life. But she went to work for a Jewish man who was running a nursing home. And one day she started to pull that, because it's usually at least an 8 or 12 hour, usually 12-hour shifts at those nursing homes. And she thought she was going to, wiggle that little slender ass and get her way out of, work again, get off early and stuff with full pay. And the Jewish owner said, "No, you can go home, but I'm only paying you for the hours you work." I believe she made that discovery upon finding that her check was not a full check. He was only paying her for the actual hours she worked. So since then, she's expressed extreme hatred for all Jews, not just one Jew. And this is where that banality of evil comes in, that I'm going to discuss in greater detail in the next video, where I talk about my family and how people like Country Girl are formed and so on. But this is how it is in this world. Is people out there act like that, and they'll talk, she promotes that kind of, everybody's okay, and she doesn't speak ill of anyone until it comes to Jews, because it was a Jew that first yanked her chain and wouldn't let her get away with shaking her little fine ass. I'm making an assumption that it was a fine ass, and just employers paying her for work that she didn't do. And finally, when a smart Jewish businessman who's not going to pay you for not working and constantly wanting to take off early and bitching and pissing and whining and moaning from a woman who's never had any serious mobility problems, any serious injuries or illnesses. I've listened to this woman for years. And so that's kind of in brief the story of the banality of the evil inside of Country Girl, is that she grew up in a community where she didn't she didn't really care if she destroyed her employers by her laziness and stuff like that. And the first time that a Jewish employer, an obviously Jewish employer, just told her the facts of business, which is, "I'm not going to pay you for not working, taking off early all the time. You get paid for the hours worked. You're not going to get away, you're not getting away with that with me." He didn't have to say that. He just reflected it in her paycheck. And since then, she's always hated the evil Jews, because she keeps her mouth shut until somebody else starts it, and then she's right in there, right in with the pack of dogs like the rest of you. And people really don't realize that banality, that shared common hatred for Jews, is something that you learned as part of your community and part of your family. I'm going to discuss that in greater detail in my next video. But it's just amazing that somebody that's so sweet and innocent as Country Girl actually hates somebody, hates an entire ethnic group just because one of them was a good businessman and wouldn't let her slide on her looks and the fact that she really was doing jobs that she was not physically able to do. Please, you have to have strength to work in a nursing home. She's matchstick thin, okay? So that concludes this particular presentation at 11 minutes.